And welcome to Undoing I Do with Stephanie and a Day. I'm Stephanie Hunnell, the owner of the Hunnell Law Group in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and your co host for this evening.
And I am Adelala Sherilyn Dow, the owner of the law offices of Adelala Sherilyn Dow in Staten Island, New York. Happy Thursday again.
Happy Thursday. I saw
I
you a
love
little bit earlier
Thursdays.
today, too.
Yes, we were being interviewed by Christina Previtt on Wake Up Call podcast, which was awesome, along with my law clerk buddy from way back, Jamie Berger. We had a good time. We
It
had a good.
was a lot of
We're
fun.
making the rounds, Stephanie. We are making the rounds.
Got to do what we have to do.
That was really fun.
It was, and I really enjoyed that topic because it was about starting a law firm that serves you, not one that you have to, be unhappy with.
Right. Lawyers really in general are very type A, most of us, and we like to be in control of how cases are being done and how everybody else's life is getting along. And sometimes we don't take the time to make sure that we're okay. And that series was all about making sure that the lawyers are healthy and good, and that their staff is managed well, so that the clients are served, but also so that the lawyer doesn't go cuckoo, as my son likes to say.
We also talked about how it takes a lot of time to interview new employees to make sure that you get the ones that are suited for you, which is very similar to a marriage, where you want to make sure that you're picking the right person for you and you're doing things in advance of getting married that will protect you and serve you.
I mean, Stephanie, you hit the nail on the head. The biggest, so we are talking about preparing for divorce, the premarital edition. Okay. The most important thing about preparing for divorce is picking who you marry properly. Hey, look, we're both married. I really believe in marriage. I don't know if I would do it again if I had to, but I'm older now, so I might not. But I have to tell you that one of the most important things is picking the right spouse. If you know that you want your outcome to be a certain way in life, you don't want to have to pay X amount of money in alimony. You don't want to have to split this type of property with this person because you worked for 10 years before you got married to get your stuff to the point where you could then springboard and it looked like you were an overnight success, but the bedrock is what you were building before you got married. Then you need to pick the right person and then get the right lawyer to draft you some prenuptial agreements.
Let me tell you this. The gold pearls of wisdom that you said today. Do not marry for potential.
Potential is a lie.
Yep.
People, potential is a lie. What is true is the current day person standing in front of you with no job and a dream. That's true. But the potential that the dream will actually pan out, yeah, that's usually a lie. And and a lot of women sell themselves this lie. But a lot of men do too. You know what the lie a lot of men sell themselves is that they might tell you that they want somebody to be at home, cooking and cleaning, sweeping up after them, and this, that, and the other. But Stephanie and I could probably tell you that a lot of our male clients who actually do file for divorce, and statistics show that most men don't file. But out of the men who do, the majority of them who come into my office are here because there was a big financial breakdown and because they felt as though they were unsupported in the marriage. They were giving, and they thought they wanted a certain thing out of a spouse. Turns out that very thing that they thought they wanted is the thing that causes them to come into our offices.
Mhm. People feel taken advantage of because, again, they feel like they're giving, giving, giving. There also is a communication issue that happens. So if you have one spouse that's working and one spouse that's only home taking care of the kids, they each have different things to talk about. And if you can't bridge that divide, then you start to lose any kind of connection you had because, you come home from a long day of work and then your spouse only wants to make sure that you're taking care of the kids and talking about the kids and doing this and what they did and complaining about their day when you maybe want to complain about your day. On the other hand, your significant other that's staying home with the kids is like, you just got home. I had a full day. I got to put the kids to bed. You need to step up and take care of these kids. So there becomes a disconnect if you're not able to bridge that gap.
That's
Again, it's
completely true.
yep, depends on what you go into the marriage thinking it's going to be, and you have to make some adjustments sometimes too.
Absolutely. You need to have, and this is going to bleed into some kind of marriage counseling, premarital counseling type thing too, but it needs to be that you have your expectations, your financial expectations, and your at home expectations in alignment before you say I do. Because if one person thinks that staying at home doesn't include cooking, preparing the house, making the house a home, they just only stay at home, male or female, that's a problem because one of the expectations is going to be, I just got home. Why do I now have to figure out what I'm going to eat? Why do I now have to, figure out when the bills are going to be paid, right? You need to be having these discussions up front. And I will guarantee you that if you have the discussion, you will find out a whole lot more about your partner and your potential compatibility than meets the eye today without having
Agreed.
that discussion.
Agreed. And a lot of times that means it absolutely means a prenup. It means having that conversation. When I got married, we didn't have anything, either of us. So prenup wasn't anything that I needed. But if I were to get married again, I absolutely would have a prenup.
Absolutely. We got married, and I will tell you, the day that I got married to my husband and I got married was the day that my unemployment benefits stopped. And I had just started my law practice a few months before, and I was laid off from the city council. I was last to be hired and the first one to get laid off. And I tell you how scared I was on the day that I said I do, but I didn't have anything, so I didn't think I needed a prenup at that time. But I will tell you, and that's the majority of people, but this is, and that's a fallacy. So even though Steph and I did it, we're divorce lawyers, and we help people not only divorce but also set up their arrangements for how their distribution of property will be if they do get divorced when they're getting married. And I will tell you that thought process is absolutely wrong. The thought process of we didn't have anything, so I'm not going to get this prenup is absolutely wrong. And it's a very romantic thought process. But the bottom line is that if you're in certain states, it used to be in New York, if you were still in school when you got married and your spouse helped you along with getting your degree, the degree was marital. We don't have that situation now in New York State. But businesses that you may have that are fledgling, that in 10 years are up and running and off the ground. These are things that the house, the dumpy house that somebody that somebody gave you or that you bought, and then you renovated it because you hit pay dirt and y'all put $400,000 and $500,000 into this house, renovating plus mortgage and this and the other. All of that is marital.
Yeah. And you need to have those kinds of conversations and think through those things because you're living in this bliss of love and expectation, and nobody really gets married thinking that they're going to get a divorce. But if you don't have a prenuptial agreement, then the default position is whatever the state tells you it is, as opposed to whatever you decide it is. Because you can make those decisions and say, well, you know what, you're only going to get a certain percentage. This is how we're going to figure this out. I mean, we can craft almost anything as long as it's not unconscionable.
That's right. That's right. And so, when Stephanie talks about something being unconscionable, whatever we draft has to be fair when it's drafted, and it has to be fair when it is enforced. If it sounds fair now, but then 20 years later, you not giving your spouse alimony is really not fair to them after they've been at home for the 20 years and helped you build your business and raise the kids, and they have absolutely um no current work history and no retooling of their skills was done during the marriage. It may not be fair that that person gets nothing. It might not be, and there may be some judge someplace that says, look, this person is going to be a public ward, and so we got to give them something. Because let me tell you what the government is not going to do. The government is not going to sit there and step up and take on your responsibilities after you left your spouse impoverished. They're not going to do that.
You know, on that topic, and maybe it's not directly related, but also people that get married to individuals that are not from this country and they're sponsoring them to come into this country, there's documents that you sign, and I just the form number escapes me, but there's documents that you sign where you confirm that you're going to support them up to, I think it's 150% of the poverty level. So that's a requirement.
For 10 years.
Correct. Yep. So, and no
it's for 40 working quarters, people.
Yep. Yep. And that's something that, you know, the state courts can't override.
That is called an affidavit of support. I don't remember what the form number is either. But yeah, we even talked about it on a prior show that we had with Aisha Shidole. Yep. And I'm telling you, signing that, you think it's all cute because you're watching 90 Day Fiance, you know? You think it's cute. It's not cute, because if this person is staying here and they don't get a job, or they end up in the emergency room and they have all kinds of bills, yeah, Uncle Sam's looking at you, kid.
Mm-hmm. And I remember from that show with Aisha, she mentioned that family members sometimes sponsor as well. So if you're sponsoring your son's fiance to come to this country, your family member is going to be on the hook because they signed that form.
Let's not do things like this. Let's not do things like this if we don't know what we're getting into, right? So if you don't know whether the person who's coming over has a skill set that they're going to be able to make marketable, then you're probably going to want to figure that out while they're here. What are you going to be going to school? What is it? What kind of certificates do you need in order to make yourself marketable? These are the conversations that you have to have, and they're the conversations that nobody thinks are romantic. But I don't remember who sang that song. No romance without finance. Look, this is a business enterprise. You know the song I'm talking about. No, but this is a business enterprise. It is a legally marriages for the state. It's about your pockets.
When people get divorced, they don't care how much you loved each other. The court is looking at this as a business transaction. It's a contract that they're now canceling, and they're saying we're dividing up assets, debts, like whatever they have. That's what's. I'm not talking about children's stuff, but you know, all of the income related and equitable distribution stuff. The court doesn't care who liked who you know contributed necessarily what. If it's all a marital enterprise.
Right. Now, you know, I have people come to me and they are absolutely emphatic about not wanting a prenup. Those are some of the most difficult strategy sessions to do with clients, because they want there to be some kind of magic pill that can be prescribed to make sure that all of their stuff is protected. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. You can make certain provisions so that your assets are less likely to become marital, but nothing is foolproof.
Nothing is foolproof. And there's so many little loopholes about increases of value from the date of the marriage to the date of the complaint. Did you participate in doing something like you said, when you're renovating a house? Did you do that? Did you use marital funds to do that? You know, there's so many little things that did you oh gosh, the name escapes me. When you commingle the funds, what happened with those? That makes it distributable. So there's so much stuff that's not protected if you don't have a prenup.
It's not protected, people. So I was talking to someone and that person has a trust, and she's the beneficiary of the trust. Her parents have the trust that she's the beneficiary. And so the question was, well, is any of this stuff going to be marital? Well, at first blush, no, because it would likely be, once they die, it would likely be seen as an inheritance. An inheritance is separate property. But then the question becomes, what do you do with the inheritance? Like Stephanie said, is the inheritance a house? Did you tell your wife to go ahead and vet the tenants for the house? Is she the one running the credit report for these people? Because if she is, and she's helping them move in, yeah, that's marital effort. That's marital effort. And her marital effort may, in some way, if she's picking out the carpeting and hiring the contractors, increase the value of your separate asset, and she will come looking for that money.
Yep. Is she there collecting the rents because you're working and you're not able to do that? Something as small as that. She's doing the deposits for you every month.
That's right. That's right. And so, you really, when you are considering getting married, you really do need to do the hard conversations and attack the hard issues. And hey, maybe when you do it, you realize that this person wasn't even the one for you, because quite frankly, everybody says that they're marrying for love. A lot of people marry for security.
Yeah.
They might like you, but that security right there.
A lot of people also confuse lust with love.
Oh, so, yeah, well, that's the bolt, girl.
So people get together and you feel like the sun and the moon shines on this person. A year later, you're like, what the?
Yeah. And this is why you should, another preparation. Don't rush into the marriage. Don't rush. I'm like, you got to be through some things before you get married. I need to see you when you don't have any money. I need to see you when you do have money. I need to see you when you got into an argument with your mama. I need to see somebody. I don't want people to die, but I need to see how you grieve. I need to see stuff, right? I need to understand who you are.
Yeah.
Before I marry you. And the quicker you rush into the marriage, the less information you have.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing. I'm going to just share a personal story. When I was probably in the 7th grade, my mother got remarried, and she got remarried really quickly after my parents divorced. And I remember saying to her, you're losing your alimony. Why are you marrying this person? Move in together and figure it out and see if you like each other. They were divorced within a year.
Did you say you were in the 7th grade? Stephanie said, Mommy, I know I'm 14, but this really don't make no sense, Mommy. Why are we about to lose daddy money?
Back then I was like, love is not enough. You can't love is not enough. I can see 100% true story.
I can see Layla doing that. I can see my daughter doing that. I could see my daughter doing that right now. So just in case you needed to know, Stephanie was always a divorce lawyer, okay? She was always a divorce lawyer. Okay? Because it's the truth. Why would you listen, there's a soca song that is called Buddy. And I'm like, you just should get her buddy. I mean, you don't need to be running into marriage. Get a little companion, okay?
Get a couple companions.
Have fun in the sun wherever you are. But yeah, I never understand, why would I give up all of this alimony money on a quick relationship? Ooh, that doesn't make any sense. But yes, you have to think about these considerations, because by the time you say I do, it's sometimes too late. It's sometimes too late. You can also enter into something called a postnuptial agreement.
So you can. So in New Jersey, postnuptial, in everywhere, the postnuptial agreements are agreements that you draft after you're married. They outline obligations, rights, responsibilities. It could just be limited to one issue. It could be related to the entire divorce, or a future divorce or separation. I find that the ones that have minimal issues with minimal exchange of discovery and information are least enforceable. What do you think?
I agree. You need to have full disclosure of everything. Income, assets, liabilities. Everything needs to be on the table, almost as if it were a property settlement agreement in a divorce, to be honest with you. Because people need to be fully aware of what rights they are relinquishing. And so, yeah, where you find the most issue with enforcing is where people haven't been given a considerable amount of information to make a proper determination as to what they should and should not waive and what they are entitled to.
Right. And the agreements that you see people come into the office and present you with this checklist on like one sheet of paper that they both signed off on. The courts tend to not look at those as agreements. They just look at that as a wish list.
Right. And, people don't understand, these agreements need to be properly acknowledged. The fact that you print something up on one of these websites, I was going to say one, but we don't need to get sued. The fact that you print something up on one of these websites and then just have somebody notary stamp them does not make the document valid. These types of documents have to be acknowledged in the same way that a deed has to be acknowledged in order to be recorded. Right. You have to be very careful. Very careful.
Yep. And also, just because you get some document that says your wife is waiving your pension in exchange for, I don't know, something nominal, or she just doesn't want it or anything, that doesn't make it valid. The court is still going to look at the equities of it to see if that was a fair determination. At least in the state of New Jersey, and I'm sure it's the same in New York, the court is only required to enforce fair and equitable settlement agreements.
That's absolutely right. And so, yes, and that pertains to prenuptial agreements as well. And I would think that the biggest issue that I have when people are preparing for their prenuptial is that they don't do it with enough time. Somebody has been thinking about it, right? And it's usually the moneyed spouse, or the spouse who makes more money, or the spouse who has more assets. They've been thinking about it, and they've been too afraid to say anything. And then when the rings are bought, the hall is booked, the limo is outside. Oh, by the way, I have this prenup. People, please understand, if you call my office and you're less than a month or two, really, if you're less than 60 days prior to your wedding, I'm not even going to have my staff offer you an appointment. I am not.
Yep.
Nope.
The only way, like with short term, I would say 60 to 90 days if the other side has an attorney to review the document. If the other side does not have an attorney, then that even 90 days is not good enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. We're going back and forth on the discussion about terms. There might be 3, 4, 5 different versions of this document that get passed around before the document is ready to be signed. And then you have the execution process. Maybe, the one attorney is in Queens, for instance, in my case. Another attorney is in Staten Island. We're not all meeting up at the same time necessarily. Or if we do, try to put 2 and 3 different lawyers' schedules together and see how far out you have to schedule something. Give yourself some time to get this done and to get it done properly. Because the less time you have, the more likely your prenuptial agreement will be set aside.
Agreed. And then all of that was for nothing.
All of that was for nothing. All of it was for nothing. And now you are starting at square one, and square one is whatever the law says.
And by the way, be prepared when you're doing these prenuptial agreements. I mean, I know I'm jaded because I'm a divorce lawyer, but I think in the back of your mind, you should have the idea that your spouse is going to try to set aside the prenuptial agreement. So when you have that in mind, you want to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. You're exchanging information. You're not trying to hide anything. You're not just giving a list of here's my assets. You're actually exchanging tax returns, bank statements, asset sheets, whatever you need to do. And you're reviewing them. You're not just saying, here, they're on the kitchen table. You saw them, right? You know, if you have the proof that you've exchanged this information, it makes it a stronger prenuptial agreement.
That's right. And in New York, we do have an obligation, and I believe it's the same thing in New Jersey. You do have an obligation to put forth a financial disclosure sheet, right? But I certainly would want to see the backup. Yep. Like Stephanie said, you told me that you had $500,000 in this account. Turns out that the account is worth 750, right? And you know, this is what you, and I relied upon that. Look, this is business. At the end of the day, you are getting into an economic partnership with another person. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that you know all of their information, and you especially want to know what kind of debt that they have. Because if they come up and have 40 and 50 and 60 and $100,000 worth of debt to the IRS, and you're, oh, we're married, we're going to get that deduction, we're filing jointly. And Uncle Sam says, oh, that 20,000 you were supposed to get back? Yeah. Sally over here, she owes us 50. See you later with that $20,000.
You know what you should also ask about is bankruptcies. I had a client who got married. They purchased a house together, and little did the wife know that there was a bankruptcy. And of course, the bankruptcy trustee found out that there was now this asset. The bankruptcy trustee came in and said, wait a second, how did you purchase this house jointly together? Let's get that money back. And people, I mean, this was years and years ago, so I don't know if it would be the same way now since there's been like the revamp of bankruptcy laws, but they ended up losing the house.
That's terrible. Mm-hmm. Do you know there would be no more marriage? Mm-hmm. There would be no more marriage. There would be no more marriage. Mm-mm. I can't imagine. Mm-mm. Yeah. So I think that,
by the way, child support judgments, you need to know about those, because once you file a joint tax return, they're going to come and take any refund that you get in order to satisfy any child support arrears.
And you want to know why the person owes child support. Mm-hmm. And if you plan on having children with the person, you want to know, okay, is this the right one? Because am I just going to be the same thing 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years later?
How many times have you heard the story where you have the second wife or girlfriend or whatever, and they're saying, oh, yeah, he kept saying how crazy she was. Now I know she wasn't crazy because now he's doing the same thing to me. Hasn't paid child support, won't pay the extracurriculars, fighting over every penny.
And if you can meet the ex, meet the ex. Mm-hmm. Meet the ex. If they say, oh, my ex is crazy, you don't have to meet them. Meet the ex, because if there are children involved, your entire life can be disrupted by this allegedly crazy ex. That goes for the men, the women, and everybody in between. I don't care what you are. You need to meet the ex and figure out whether your understanding of who this person is accurate.
Mm-hmm. And the kids come first. I mean, the kids usually, I shouldn't say usually, the kids are supposed to always come first. And if you have pickups and drop-offs and all of those things, you have to make sure that you're willing to accept all of that extra responsibility. And the added stress that might go along with whatever dynamic the ex and him have, or him and her have, or whatever, her and her, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you understand that. And read your prenuptial agreement. Mm-hmm. Don't just sign. Don't tell your attorney, oh, I trust you. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. You guys, you all have heard me say that so many times on our show. You know, attorneys are only as good as the assistance that we get from you.
Yep. That's the worst thing I never want to hear. Oh, I trust you. I'll just tell me what to. No. But when I hear that, I'm like, no. You're now reading it for sure right in front of me, because I want to make sure I know that you've read it.
Yes, absolutely. I think that we've given a full breadth of checklist type items to make sure that you get done before you say I do. to try to eliminate the chances of you having a huge conflagration when you get divorced. None of this, but again, we can't make any guarantees. Can't make any guarantees. We're not your attorney either. So make sure that you hire one of us or another competent attorney to help you through this
Family
time.
law attorney.
Family law attorney. Don't hire a real estate attorney. Shout out to the real estate people. Don't hire a bankruptcy attorney. Shout out to the bankruptcy attorneys. Don't hire a med-mal attorney. Shout out to them too. But hire a family law attorney to do this.
Yep. It was
a
great.
Show.
Yeah, great show. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye. Happy summer, everyone. Thanks for watching. Share and like, and also check out our YouTube channel. Bye.